I know previous meetings I mentioned transparency at the state and federal level.
And I think we do need a lot more transparency when it comes to the budget process.
And accusatory and adversarial deliveries does not make it a cohesive board. And asking for information that I wouldn't even have known you asked for. I'm just going to say, Andy and Chris, thank you. To all the teachers, thank you. To everyone that's actually in school buildings, parents, teachers, even me, even though I don't have kids in there, even me, even though I don't have kids in there, even though I don't have kids in there.
And I wanted to know where EdSite gets their information from.
Us.
Okay, so being that it comes from Enfield Public Schools, how is that information transmitted to EdSite?
Various forms.
Okay. Do we have a software system that we use to track and manage human capital?
Yeah, we don't call it human capital management, but we have a software, yes.
Okay. Do you happen to know the software that we use?
Munis.
Munis, okay. In regards to budget prep, same question. Do we use a system or software to prep our budget, or is it manually prepared?
Multiple ways.
Okay. Some other questions, and again, this will be through the chair to the super. I was looking at some of our empowering statutes and Connecticut general statutes. The CGS 10220, paragraph C, talks about school districts submitting to the Commissioner of Education a strategic school profile report for each school or school program of alternative education. My understanding is this information does get submitted to EdSite, but I also want to ask, is this information provided to the board directly when it's sent to the state?
Go ahead, if you want to answer it, if you have the ability to answer it.
I'll get back to you.
Another question, again, through a statute, is Connecticut General Statutes 10221C. It requires superintendents within 30 days of the end of a school year to provide the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles a copy of a written record of all complaints received for the previous 12-month period. This is regarding motor vehicle safety and bus accidents. I know this is something that's come up through joint security. And again, clarifying that the statute requires this to be submitted annually from the superintendent to the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles. So through the chair to the superintendent, do we have the most recent report that could be shared with the board?
We are in compliance with all state laws.
I know previous meetings I mentioned transparency at the state and federal level. When I was talking about the state, the Open Connecticut, which is run by the Connecticut State Comptroller. Also at the federal level, there's what's called the Data Act. It was most recently updated in 2014. It maintains a website called usaspending.gov that the public can log on to and see financial transparency of federal bills. So one of the things that I'd like to spearhead and have this board work on is what I want to call the Enfield BOE Transparency Initiative. This is not to reinvent the wheel or create work for our administrators, but this is something that I think should carbon copy Open Connecticut right here at the local level with an end state of sharing open access to the budget, open access to payroll, and other aspects that the district spends money on that the public should be privy to.
There are some things that I would like to see, too. Information on, and I'm sure the town council would like to see some of these things. The number of teachers we have in each department and the steps that they're on, the number of administrators we have and the positions they hold, also the steps that they're on and their job descriptions, the number of coordinators we have and the positions they hold, and separate them between 10-month and 12-month coordinators, the number of students in each school by grade level, identifying the students, each specific school, and the number of special ed numbers that they have in those buildings, the number of staff members at the central office and the departments they work in and their job descriptions, the number of special ed teachers and or those receiving services, number of special ed students and or those receiving services, and also the number of people certified who work or have contact with these kids. And the copies of the last 4 contracts of each of the bargaining units that are under the Enfield Public School purview. And also, in talking with a former board member, he had mentioned something about some sort of budget software that he tried to introduce years ago, and I have no idea what the name of it is, but is there something that you use like that, software that just kind of keeps the budget rolling and information about it?
Munis.
Oh, that's what that is? Okay. I know a lot of people come and say, you know, we have to give 8.68% to the budget. I want to know or see or have you guys justifying where we need more money or where we don't need more money, if it's possible, to see a more in-depth look at things, not just saying this is how much money we need and you get a 10 or 12 page printout that isn't really identifying anything. And I think we do need a lot more transparency when it comes to the budget process.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions based on an email I received. So the email we received said that the following information was requested. IRS tax forms W-2 for tax years 2023. The total number of W-2s issued, the total number of corrected W-2s issued, if any, the total number of W-2s outstanding to be issued, if any, along with a spreadsheet containing, at minimum, the following columns, data points exported from all individual W-2s issued by our organization. Export of Box E, employee full name, address and zip code, export of Box 1, wages, tips, and other compensation. If the requested summary data points above are too burdensome, I will accept bulk document scan of all organizational W-2s in PDF or another type of format and securely transmitted via Teams or a Dropbox, and I'll disaggregate the desired financial data points accordingly. That was one email from Mr. Kober, and the second email was a 7-year look back on a total number of Enfield Public School staff, respective growth loss trends, and a current listing of all district employees, total number of EPS staff on the first day of school for each year, total number of EPS staff on the final day, attrition or increase rate % for each school year, current list or roster of all EPS staff at minimum should show, full name, job title or position, status as full or part-time, primary location, building facility, years employed and or original start date by district, and unadjusted gross salary. Do you feel comfortable answering why you were looking for that information on such a granular level for staff?
Yeah, so that ties into, in the example I gave of Open Connecticut, it's the same information that the state does for employee payroll. If you go on, and there's an example I sent to leadership regarding the current commissioner of education. If you go in, you could look her up and you can see exactly what her 2023 earnings are and how that comes out of the state budget.
So you want a W-2 for every single staff member under Enfield Public Schools?
So the request is from the data off the W-2, not the W-2s.
But you said you could just get them in a bulk, but I'm asking why you're requesting that. Like, for what purpose are you going to need that information for?
The transparency and the understanding of the budget line items for those positions.
For full-time, for FTEs, paras, nurses, secretaries, library aides, tutors?
All staff that are employed.
Okay, and that's what you think that you need on a granular level. You're going to study that and have a better understanding on a granular level of what our staff is by wanting very private information. Is it legal to actually ask for a W-2 of an employee? Do we know?
I don't know. I sent my response to the board.
Great. I thought the best response was go back and look at the board training with the different scenarios. Because my question, I guess at the end of the day, to both Peter and Phil, asking for all this information, I mean, you guys, to speak of transparency, you guys said when you got hired or elected that the first order of business was getting us out of an alliance district. How is that getting us out of an alliance district?
So I don't want to keep the back and forth going, but the goal is fiscal responsibility. And when we talk about alliance district, we're talking about funding. And if there's funding that we can better utilize, that would negate the need for funding from the alliance district.
So, first of all, that's not necessarily our decision, and it would never be our decision on what staff to cut. As a board, if the town, whatever the town council passes, and we've had this conversation before, we're going to get the number, whether it's 4%, whether it's 8.62%, and Andy and Chris will go back to the schools, they'll talk to the administrators, they'll look at class sizes, and they'll decide where we can reorg and where we're going to be cut. Is that something that is understandable, or because we don't have any say in staff cuts? And we don't know the actual needs of our students. And like, there's certain things we cannot cut, like special ed, and certain classes we have to offer at the high school level. So we can like look at a salary and say, well, this is too much. Let's get rid of them, without knowing. That's why we don't make those decisions.
So I don't want to keep the back and forth going, but we as a board are responsible for approving a budget.
Yes.
And that is the intent of that information.
Okay, but it doesn't serve us any purpose. I guess the question would be is if we are, it just blows my mind. We could ask the same questions of the fire departments in the Enfield Police Department. We could ask, can we have the W-2s? My taxes are going towards their salaries. The town council could ask that. We could ask about attendance and meeting minimum qualifications at the time of the employment. You know, I'll say this. Jean, Ms. Acree, and Dr. Kalnin, you have made a commitment to work on the mental health committee, and you have made active steps in helping us understand why we are in Alliance District and what we can do to help. And I appreciate those efforts because you're working very hard. And that's what we should be doing as board members. All of the information that you guys are asking is available. Teacher salaries, it's all public information. And I just have to say that when we sit up here, there is a delivery or an assumption that things aren't being handled correctly at central office, and we are audited. And accusatory and adversarial deliveries does not make it a cohesive board. And asking for information that I wouldn't even have known you asked for, because I only found out because the superintendent responded to all of us.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Janitis.
Since you did allude to me also, I think the more information we have as a board when it comes to determining what amount we're going to add to the budget is important. You just don't walk into any organization that's spending $70 to $90 million a year and say, well, I need another 8%. And that's it. No, I want to know why you need it, what you need it for. I want to know, is there any place that money has been saved or can be saved? Not just a blanket write a check. I mean, if you can't justify it, then I wouldn't spend another penny on it. But if you can justify it, then I would go all the way up to 8.68. I just want to see some numbers and some stats. So I don't think it's ridiculous to ask these questions.
So my question would be, how was it not justified? And it's 72 million. It's not 90 million. It's 72 million.
I've seen so many different numbers. It's incredible.
Well, all you have to do is look at the budget packet.
I've seen so many different numbers.
And it's got $72 million on it. So how is that, I guess that's my question. How is that not supported, that figure? We had a budget presentation. We met in leadership. I don't understand. Saying that it wasn't supported.
You don't understand. That's your problem.
All right. Okay, I think we're good.
I'm just going to say,
One last.
this is the disrespect that goes on this board. And I'm just asking questions because I feel like that information is out there. And I don't feel like it's a good use of taxpayer dollars having these guys go on a wild goose chase for information that's available and information that we have no say over. We can know that they're staff, but it's not up to us to tell them they have too much staff. We can say it, but they're not going to do anything about it. We don't know. We are not in the schools. And that's it. I'm not going back with the back and forth.
Okay.
I don't think anybody said we have too much staff. I just want things justified. Are there areas that I think we do have a couple too many people? Yep. And that would fall in the administrative category for sure. But, you want disrespect. I'm tired of being lectured by you.
Okay.
I'm going to finish, Charlotte, because I'm just going to say, Andy and Chris, thank you. To all the teachers, thank you. To everyone that's actually in school buildings, parents, teachers, even me, even though I don't have kids in there, I get invited to school events and I actually go. I appreciate you, and thank goodness we have the educational leaders making decisions regarding our budget.